morning, good afternoon, and good evening, hockey fans. It is a not terrible little 4 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Fahrenheit in a Bridgewater, Nova Scotia with a marshmallow sky today. That wasn't weird, shut up. My name is Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to the Thursday, April 28th edition of the Bridgewater's Finest 2016 NHL Playoffs podcast. Now, of course, last night we had the beginning of round 2, game 1 between the Isles and Lightning, and we also had the end of round 1, game 7 between Nashville and Anaheim. We're going to review both of those games, but before we do, I just want to remind everybody that in yesterday's episode, I gave my full-scale round 2 predictions, and if you did not catch those, I will give them to you here just in brief, but definitely go back, listen to yesterday's episode, because we talk about each and every series in a little bit more depth. But round 2 in the Eastern Conference, Washington versus Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh in 7 games. Tampa Bay and New York, even though New York did do pretty well last night, I like the Lightning in 6 games in that series. Taking a look at the Western Conference, Dallas and St. Louis, I like the Blues to upset the Stars in 7 games. And now that we know the result from last night, San Jose hosting Nashville in that Pacific Division matchup in the Western Conference in round 2. I like the Sharks to win that series in 5 games. But absolutely, go back and listen to yesterday's episode of the podcast where we talk a little bit more about the series, why I kind of feel the way that I do. So go back and check those out. So let's get into the game reviews from last night. The Islanders in Tampa Bay taking on the Lightning in game 1 of their series. And Thomas Greiss, one more time, equal to the challenge. A higher challenge, admittedly, but equal to it nonetheless. The Islanders come up with a huge road win in Tampa Bay. They win game 1 5-3 over the Lightning. Shots were 36-22 for Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay definitely throwing way more puck towards Thomas Greiss than the Islanders did towards Ben Bishop. Bishop did not have a good game. The Islanders lead the series 1-0. The Lightning did open things up pretty early in this one. A lot of physical pressure. They do get some chances, and the chances eventually do open up. 3 minutes and 5 seconds into the first period, the scoring is opened in this series. Tampa Bay's on the board. It's Andre Palat, his second of these playoffs. Drouin and Nemesnikov draw the assists there. A beautiful backhanded pass from Drouin, just a seeing eye pass, finds Palat for the one-timer. Tampa Bay gets the start that they want after all that time off, and it's 1-0 Lightning. The early first period here stays chippy, stays physical. These teams are clearly going at each other to open this series. Not a whole hell of a lot of chances coming off of that, but the Islanders do get a good chance, and they make it count. 5:44 into the first period, we have a tie game. The Islanders score. It's Travis Hamonic with surprisingly his first goal of these playoffs. Quine and Tavares picking up the assists. Really just kind of a weak wrist shot off the boards from Hamonic. Ben Bishop wants that one back in a big bad way, and as I mentioned, Bishop did not have a great game. Hamonic scores, the game is tied. Just over a minute later, Thomas Greiss gets tested. It's Palat sent in on a partial breakaway, makes a move. Thomas Greiss equal to the task. About a minute after that, then Ben Bishop is the one who is tested. He steps up, stopping Matt Martin on picking up his own rebound. So he stops Matt Martin twice there. The goaltenders feel like maybe they might be starting to get into a little bit of a groove here. A little bit of mid-first period penalty trouble for the Lightning. They take a hooking penalty and the all-too-rare kneeing penalty. So they take a couple of penalties there, no damage on those power plays, but the Isles are definitely building momentum here into the late first period, and they make that momentum count. 17:28 into the first period, the Islanders take the lead. It's Prince with his second goal of these playoffs, Shane Prince from Strome and Nelson. A cross-crease pass just gets tipped in by Prince, and all of a sudden the Islanders have the lead, and they weren't done there. Just over 2 minutes later, 3 seconds left in the period, 19:57. The Islanders take a 3-1 lead. It's Shane Prince again, his third of the playoffs, second of the game. Strome and Nelson again picking up the assists on this one. Strome's got the puck behind the net, puts it out to Prince. Beautiful little snapshot. Prince with his second goal of these the second goal of the game, third of the playoffs. Islanders now have a 2-goal lead. The Lightning have a good start to the second period as well. They have 9 of the first shot attempts in the period. They do draw a penalty, so the Lightning are trying to tilt that ice back down towards the Islanders' end. That gets killed a little bit. Marchessault, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He takes a hooking penalty on John Tavares. That is momentum killing right there. The Islanders had the number 6 power play in these playoffs, as we mentioned on yesterday's show, and they make that opportunity count as well. 8:59 into the second period. The Islanders on the power play. It's John Tavares, his 6th goal of the playoffs. Okposo and Franz Nielsen drawing the assists there. And really, this is just a simple rush, enter the zone, throw a wrister on net. It's another one that Ben Bishop wants to have back. And after this one, Bishop gets pulled in favor of Andrei Vasilevskiy, and it was the right move. This game's still a physical pendulum. The Lightning are kind of generating off of their physicality. Thomas Greiss, every single time, equal to the task. Ryan Callahan takes himself a late holding penalty in the second period. No damage on that. Thomas Greiss, at the end of the second period, makes a huge save on Andre Palat. I think that wrister would have counted if he wouldn't have made that save. Huge pad save, sprawling across to end the period. Big ups to Thomas Greiss. The Islanders open the third period with physicality, registering the first 4 hits of the period, but the Lightning immediately turn that around, and then they register the next 5 straight. Matt Martin, another glorious opportunity. He hits the goalpost. That could have been the dagger in this game at just 27 seconds into the third period. Martin could not quite get that one done. That just left the door open a crack, and here come the Lightning. 7:41 into the third period. Tampa Bay's back on the board. Nikita Kucherov, his 6th goal of these playoffs, matching Tavares. Carl and Hedman with the assists on that goal. A nice little slap pass from Matt Carl, and Kucherov snaps it home. It was a great goal, and the Lightning have life. The Islanders kind of go back into that shot blocking game. They used it so well against Florida, and they're starting to use it really well here. The ice is definitely tilting in the Lightning's favor at this point. Andrei Vasilevskiy getting the call. Cold goaltender goes in. He stops Matt Martin on back-to-back opportunities. I tell you, Matt Martin had himself a game. Thomas Greiss, for his quality, stoning Jonathan Drouin on a tip. It was a beautiful tip by Drouin. Greiss with a big save. Casey Cizikas taking a delay of game penalty. That hurts the momentum. As the penalty expires, Tampa Bay pulls this thing within 1. 17:28 into the third period, 2.5 minutes left. Tampa Bay gets back on the board. It's Valtteri Filppula, a guy whose name I don't think I called one time in the first round. Filppula with his first of the playoffs. Killorn and Garrison picking up the assists. It's a scramble in front of Thomas Greiss. Filppula knocks the puck down to himself, tosses it on net, and it gets behind Thomas Greiss. It is 4-3. We got ourselves a hell of an end to this game. The Lightning pull Vasilevskiy with about 1:40 left to get the 6-on-5. Cal Clutterbuck comes up with a huge shot block on Valtteri Filppula, and he gets rewarded for it. 19:05 into the third. The Islanders into the empty net. It's Clutterbuck with his first of these playoffs. Cizikas and Calvin DeHaan picking up the assists, and that is your game. 5-3 Islanders. John Tavares on the power play scores the game-winning goal. That's the goal that got Ben Bishop pulled. They win the game 5-3, take a 1-0 series lead on the road. You look at the numbers, it was a fairly even game by the numbers, but to be perfectly honest, middle of this game, Tampa Bay did look rusty. One of the analysts on Hockey Night in Canada said the Tampa Bay basically played a 15-minute game. The first 5 minutes of the first and the last 10 minutes of the third. I don't quite think it was that rough. I saw quite a few other instances and periods of time when Tampa Bay was, playing their game. I mean, the Islanders just got it done. The Islanders were opportunistic. They made the most of the opportunities that they were given. And the Islanders won the game. It's hard to argue it. They executed. Tampa Bay just did not. They got a lot of pressure. They got a lot of shots on net. But 33 more saves for Thomas Greiss. This kid is unbelievable. He is playing a hell of a series. And a hell of a playoff. Okay, guys, let's close out round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Nashville at Anaheim, Game 7 of their series. Shots in this game were 37-20 for Anaheim. They damn near doubled it up. But Pekka Rinne, what a peck ahead. Nashville wins 2-1 in Anaheim in Game 7, beating Anaheim in Anaheim for the third time in this series. Unreal. Nashville, as a wild card team, upsets a Stanley Cup favorite in the first round. You gotta love hockey. Nashville wins the game 2-1 to win the series 4-3. The Ducks came out in this game with something to prove. The first 4 attempts in this game were dangerous ones. They were close. Pekka Rinne had to be equal to the task, but we had 2 hot goalies in this one. Pekka Rinne, huge saves on Jacob Silfverberg and Cam Fowler. Frederik Andersen, for his part, a big save on Arvidsson early in this game. 6:19 into the first period, we've broken the scoreless tie. Nashville's on the board first. It's Colin Wilson with his second of these playoffs, unassisted. A nice little lead pass up towards him. He steals the puck back from the Anaheim player, takes it to the backhand, and he beats Frederik Andersen. That was a goal scorer's goal right there. You gotta love that. Colin Wilson with his second of the playoffs, and Nashville is up 1-0. Anaheim, for their part, does a fairly good job of trying to rebuild the pressure off of giving up that 1-0 goal. You can almost call that one not a fluke, but, kind of a broken play and one of those things that you're not really going to get down about. But Sami Vatanen and Kevin Bieksa take penalties, not back-to-back, but they were fairly close within each other when they took those penalties. And Nashville converts on the momentum, 15:53 into the first period. Nashville has now doubled their lead. It's Paul Gaustad with his first goal of these playoffs. Weber and Arvidsson picking up the assists. Point shot by Weber, just deflected by Gaustad, and it's in the net. 15:53, Nashville has doubled their lead. This one was reviewed for a high stick. It was very close. Like, every angle looked extremely close on this one. It was determined to be a good goal. Nashville doubles the lead. The Ducks buzz here in the late first period. A couple of shot attempts get blocked, but Pekka Rinne has to make a big save on Jacob Silfverberg, who was one of the Ducks' best players in this game, to end the first period. Some early second period physicality here forces a Roman Josi penalty. No damage done, but it was a very solid Anaheim power play. They moved to the puck very well. They got a couple of opportunities. No damage done, but that's all momentum. That's things that you can put in your back pocket, know you're capable. At this point, the Ducks are badly out-hitting Nashville. The physical game is completely tilted in Anaheim's direction. Frederik Andersen, though, he has to come up big and make a couple of big stops. First on Shea Weber and then on Roman Josi. Those are some hard shots, some dangerous shots. Andersen equal to the task. Mid-second period, Predators push. They're starting to push a little bit more here. It's continuing. 2 more good saves by Frederik Andersen, who was arguably the Ducks' best player in this game. 2 more big saves, this time on Mike Fisher and Craig Smith. The Predators looking for some secondary scoring there. Andersen equal to the task. The Ducks cannot take advantage of a late second period power play, but they get another one very, very late in the period, which carries over into the third, and they do convert on that one. Minute 45 into the third period, Anaheim has cut the lead in half. It's Ryan Kessler who had a hell of a series for the Ducks. Silfverberg and Lindholm picking up the assists. Beautiful little tic-tac-toe passing there. Kessler buries it behind Pekka Rinne. Big celebration. The crowd is hot at this point. Anaheim is back in this game, trailing just 2-1. The Ducks keep buzzing. They keep momentum off of that, and another Predators penalty. The Predators were giving Anaheim some opportunities in this one. Pekka Rinne was holding the fort. One thing that I was really noticing towards the latter part of the third period, Corey Perry was really starting to heat up. He was starting to fly around the ice. The puck was just finding him. He was getting dangerous opportunities, and I'm thinking, just like I said in yesterday's episode, I'm like, Perry's going to score here, and as soon as he does, it's going to mean awful things for everyone else in the Western Conference, because as soon as he heats up, I feel like it's going to be goals in bunches. So he is starting to heat up. He's starting to fly around the ice. The Ducks come within eyelash of tying this game. The puck bounces off the crossbar. It's laying in the crease. Nobody can get a stick on it. I think it ended up under Andrew Cogliano or something like that. Shea Weber and David Perron take offsetting roughing penalties off of that play. Perron kind of landed on Pekka Rinne, and Shea Weber just like cross-checks Perron in the back of the neck. It was kind of dirty. It was kind of, it's one of those things you don't like to see. They take offsetting penalties there. That's a great trade for the Ducks. David Perron, nothing against David Perron, but you're taking an elite defenseman off of the ice for a 4-on-4. That's a great trade for the Ducks. Unfortunately, Getzlaf kills that by taking a tripping penalty. Not a lot that he could do about it, to be perfectly honest, but he takes a tripping penalty against Barrett Jackman during that 4-on-4, and the Preds just play keep away. The Preds literally killed about a minute and a half of game clock on the delayed penalty call just by keeping the puck. They pull the goaltender. They got 5 guys out there. They can just play keep away with the puck. You saw it in a game, Dallas-Minnesota game earlier in these playoffs, and the Preds did it great. They literally killed, it was over a minute and a half of game clock here late in the third period. Speaking of a minute and a half, Corey Perry in the last minute and a half of the game with a couple of great chances. Rinne stops him. He gets his own rebound, and Rinne stops that too. Unbelievable end to this game for all involved. The Preds have a chance to ice it now. It's down towards the other end of the ice. Frederik Andersen has been pulled. It's an empty net. Jarnkrok, I believe it is, misses the empty net. That would have iced it. Corey Perry turns it around. Another great chance. The puck's in the crease. He's jamming away at it. I don't know how the puck stayed out. It was just the strength of the pad of Pekka Rinne, but the puck stays out of the net. One more huge scramble in the last 10 seconds. Ryan Kessler's got a chance. The puck hops up over his stick. He whiffs on a slap shot, just like a turnaround slapper. He whiffs on that. That was Anaheim's last gasp. And they lose a Game 7 again after being up 3-2 in a series. We talk about Washington having trouble closing things out. Anaheim is the exact same way. It's unfortunate for them, but it was Pekka Rinne, the eliminator in this game. Rinne has a tremendous record in elimination games, and he extends that on his playoff career by beating the Ducks in Anaheim in Game 7. Nashville wins. Nashville moves on to play the Sharks. Well, folks, now that all of our Round 1 series are finally done, let's take a second and review how we did in the Western Conference. Now, if you remember, I went 2-2 in the East, got the top half of the East right with Washington and Pittsburgh. I picked Florida to beat the Islanders. That didn't work out. And I picked Detroit to upset the Lightning, and that didn't work out either. So I was 2-2 in the Eastern Conference. So, in the Western Conference, Dallas beats Minnesota in 6 games. I took Dallas in 5. It took them a little bit longer, but they got the job done despite horrible roster decisions with Tyler Seguin and with the goaltending. Dallas beats Minnesota in 6 games. I'm 3-2. I'm feeling good. I whiffed on the rest of the Western Conference, but I'm not super upset about it, and I'll tell you why once we get to the end of it. St. Louis beating Chicago in Game 7. I had Chicago winning the series in Game 7. I had it going to Game 7. I knew Game 7 was what this series deserved before it even started. So I was fairly confident that it was going to go to 7. I liked Chicago. St. Louis wins it by 1 goal. It was 3-2. So, I mean, look, I'll take that, and I'll take the story of St. Louis exercising their playoff demons. I'll take that any day. So I lost that one, so I'm down to 3-3. San Jose beating LA in 5 games. Nobody saw that coming. I don't even think the biggest Sharks fans saw them beating LA in 5 games. Maybe they beat them in 7, possibly in 6, but in 5 games, you're a liar if you said that they were going to win that series in 5 games. I took the Kings in 6. I thought, again, it's that age-old story of playoff problems and kind of expecting those to rear their ugly head. Didn't happen. San Jose toppling Los Angeles. A huge win for that franchise. Major momentum. I'm 3-4. but I'm not overly upset about it. And then we go to Nashville and Anaheim. I had Anaheim winning this series in 6 games. They had a chance to win Game 6. Didn't work out that way. Go back to Anaheim, and they lose it in 7. And it's a great story because it's another one of those series that nobody expected Nashville to beat Anaheim. So many people were penciling Anaheim into the Western Conference final that they didn't stop to take a look at, geez, maybe Nashville can beat these guys. Although when I previewed this series, prior to when it started, I said, Pekka Rinne has the ability to steal a series. And that's exactly what Pekka Rinne did. He stole Game 6 and he stole Game 7. Pekka Rinne is the reason that the Predators are in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Predators didn't beat the Ducks. Pekka Rinne beat the Ducks. But Nashville topples Anaheim in 7 games. I had Anaheim in 6, so I'm only 3-5. That's not great. I don't like it, but at the same time, I'm not super upset about it because we got some great stories, especially in the Western Conference. Of note, your 2015-2016 Vezina Trophy finalists were announced last night, I believe it was. Tampa Bay's Ben Bishop, Washington's Braden Holtby, and Los Angeles' Jonathan Quick have been named as the Vezina Trophy finalists. Who do you guys think are going to win the Vezina Trophy, or who do you guys think is going to win, rather, the Vezina Trophy come the NHL awards at the end of the season? My money's on Holtby. I mean, honestly, he did such amazing things this season. Jonathan Quick, I mean, is a great goaltender. He's one of the elite goaltenders in the world. Same goes for Ben Bishop, and Ben Bishop had himself an excellent season as well. Ben Bishop, I think, benefits the most out of these 3 goaltenders by knowing he's got an amazing, almost starter caliber goaltender behind him in Andrei Vasilevsky. So I think he can play a little more calmly, if that makes any sense. Braden Holtby and Jonathan Quick don't really have that. They've got backups, obviously, but they don't really have like really good, almost starter quality backups. So I like Holtby for the Vezina. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to take home that particular highly coveted piece of hardware? Okay, folks, we're going to finish off by teeing up the only game that we have tonight, the only piece of game action. Pittsburgh traveling to Washington to take on the Capitals in Game 1 of their second round series. This game begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's available on CBC in Canada and NBCSN in the United States. Matt Murray and Braden Holtby will be your goaltending matchup here. Holtby looks none worse for wear from that little leg injury or leg concern, I guess, that they had after he got run into in practice a little while back. And on Pittsburgh's side of things, this is Matt Murray's crease until Flower comes back. It's nice to see that they finally got that stability there, and you know for a fact, like, it's definitely Matt Murray's crease. This kid is 3-0 with a .955 save percentage in his 3 playoff games. That's unreal. And the fact that he did it against the Rangers, who are a great, great team. Unbeaten, .955 save percentage. Definitely Matt Murray's crease moving forward in this series. I have to ask, too, is the time off, and this is kind of a question to you guys, how do you think the time off is going to negatively affect Pittsburgh, or will it? Will it negatively affect them in the same way that it seemed to negatively affect Tampa Bay? And that being, at the beginning of each period, Tampa Bay seemed great, but it felt like because of the time off, maybe they just, like, it feels like they kind of had an adrenaline dump. Like they'd play great for the first 5 minutes, and then their legs would kind of get a little slow under them, and the Islanders were able to take advantage of that against Tampa Bay. Do you think a similar kind of situation is going to happen here with Pittsburgh? They won their series in 5 games as well. Something to look out for. I talked about it a bunch through the first round, but for the Capitals, I mean, John Carlson, I can't say enough good things about John Carlson. Early in these playoffs, I tweeted that when he's on his game, Duncan Keith is probably the best defenseman in the world. Like, he's probably the best at what he does. John Carlson is definitely getting up there. This guy is such a fulcrum in the Capitals offense. It's unbelievable. To the point that on the Washington roster in these playoffs, only Ovechkin has more shot attempts on net than does John Carlson. That's pretty unbelievable for a defenseman. That's like a PK Subban level of being involved with your offense. And when you have an offense that is as good as Washington's, it's pretty damn impressive that John Carlson is such a major part of it. As much as the Penguins need to pay particular attention to John Carlson and Alex Ovechkin and like the big guns for Washington, Washington cannot sleep on this Pittsburgh bottom six. Pittsburgh probably has the most well-rounded roster in terms of production coming out of the first round, and the Pens need that bottom six to keep it up. You got a guy like Brian Rust, 2 goals and 3 points in 5 games, and he's a +4. So that's pretty excellent for a guy in the bottom six. Nick Bonino didn't find the back of the net, but he's producing at a point a game. He's got 5 assists in 5 games, and he's a +2. These bottom 6 forwards for the Penguins are producing at a really excellent rate, and I think Pittsburgh's success is partially going to hinge on their ability to keep doing that, because obviously the big guys for Pittsburgh, your Crosbys, your Malkins, your Kessels, they're going to be the guys that are getting the majority of the attention from Washington's best defensive players. Your bottom 6 can definitely be a key to victory. But I don't think victory will come for Pittsburgh in Game 1. Beginning of the series, it's in Washington. Now, Washington did lose a home game to Philadelphia in this series, or in the first round series, rather, so it is something to watch out for. Maybe, obviously, there's definitely a possibility. This is going to be a coin flip series any way you slice it. I just like Washington tonight to get off to a good start in this series. I like Washington 3-2 tonight to beat Pittsburgh on home ice. All right, folks, that's going to do it for a fairly abbreviated version of the Bridgewater's Finest 2016 NHL Playoffs podcast for Thursday, April the 28th. Thank you very much for listening. Go back to the beginning of the episode or yesterday's episode for my full-scale Round 2 predictions. I'll do those again one more time for you on tomorrow's episode, and then we won't do them again. We'll move forward with the rest of the second round getting underway. I'm super excited for this second round. I think this second round is going to be excellent. I love the matchups. I love the surprises that came out of the first round, and I love the surprises that are likely to come out of the second round. Don't forget, in the comments section below, tell me who you think is going to win the Vezina Trophy. Tell me whether you think Pittsburgh will suffer the same kind of jet lag or rink rust, if you will, that Tampa Bay seemed to suffer in their Game 1 against the Islanders. Let me know that stuff in the comments section below. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Thursday is in the books, and we'll see you again on Friday.